Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to be reviewing part 3 of The Keys of Marinus, The Screaming Jungle. I really enjoyed this episode. It gives us a nice chance to spend some time with Ian and Barbara. Now, the Doctor is not in this episode. Hartnell's probably on holiday. But it's written really well into the script because in episode 2 at the end, The Velvet Web, they split up. The Doctor goes to check a different key while they all go to check this key. So it's actually written well into the story that they split up. So I'm not surprised that Hartnell's not in this episode. I honestly didn't expect him to be in this episode. I was thinking to myself before I started watching it, that's a clever way to give Hartnell a week off. So it's not clunky like it is in other stories like The 10th Planet, where it just feels weird that he's not there when he should be. Here it feels very natural. And it's nice to have a chance to spend with Ian and Barbara. Now we also have Susan at the beginning with two of the guest characters that are in the episode as well. And at the beginning there was that little moment with Susan being Susan and freaking out and me going, "Oh, Susan, stop being Susan." And I'm sure Carol Ann Ford wanted Susan to stop being Susan when she's freaking out over the vines and the screaming. And luckily, Susan and the other two leave pretty quickly, and it's pretty much an Ian and Barbara show after that, and I really like that. Now, the little thing that grabs Ian and Barbara and spins them around, the arms are obviously human arms poking out of the wall. Not gonna lie, I looked at that and was like, okay. I'll let it go, but it looked a little ridiculous. Story-wise, though, I absolutely love this. The idea, I love how, well, I'll circle back to that. I like in this one how it does a good job of communicating to you early in the story that the jungle's kind of out to get you. With the little leaf barely brushing on Susan's legs, them noticing the jungle overgrowing everything, blocking the entrance. Even Barbara comments, it looks like the jungle's trying to get in. It does a good job, keeping in mind this is season 1 of the original series. Very early Doctor Who, the 5th story of all time. Very much a children's show. It's nursemaiding you along. You know, if you're 5, you can follow the story easily. I'm enjoying that. There's even a scene before the door they're trying to get into opens. You see the vines behind Barbara. That long shot it holds on Barbara. The vines kind of creeping down over the door. And then when the door opens, they withdraw. That's really neatly done. And then, of course, there are a couple moments where I'm like, come on, Barbara. Like when the net falls on her and the spikes are ever so super slowly descending down. I'm pretty sure I could have watched a football game in the time it took them to descend down. I was sitting there going, all right, just roll, just turn, come on, you can get out of it. It's just all right, Barbara, if you can't get out of that in this amount of time, you kind of deserve to get stuck with the spikes. And then she's calling for Ian for help, and he's like, I'll be there in a second. I'm like, if she's calling you for help, she might need you now. And because he keeps wrestling with the little piece of iron, he gets trapped in the cage. And I'm sitting there going, come on, Ian. Come on, Ian. So there were a couple moments where I'm like, come on, y'all. Y'all are better than this. And then when they're inside the room with the plants, when they realize the jungle's getting in, Ian kind of, Barbara kind of walks off by herself like this with her arm out. And I'm sitting there thinking, something's going to grab her. She shouldn't have walked over there. Something's going to grab her. And then something grabs her. And I'm like, come on, Barbara, you're having a Susan moment. You're better than this. But those little nitpicks aside, I do enjoy the story. I like, the sets actually look pretty nice. I like meeting the one guy who kind of knows what's going on, the older guy, and how he wants to make sure they're from the guy who did actually send them. He's double checking the little time check thing. And then he starts to trust him more when he gets grabbed by one of the vines through the little boarded up area. I like the fact it had showed that boarded up area before, where it had been boarded up to keep the plants out. And then he lives kind of just long enough to give them that code that they're trying to figure out. And I like how it explains why the jungle is attacking. The fact that the guy was doing experiments to accelerate things. How Ian is reading the journal and talks about how, over thousands of years, water can even wear away stone. Water always wins, to quote a future incarnation of the Doctor. And what if you could accelerate that and do that in a day? And it's a nice little lesson for children about how, water can wear away stones. That's how, it can create stalactites and stalagmites. And, you look at the Grand Canyon. So that's a pretty neat little lesson for kids. And then, of course, I like when the whispering starts up when it gets dark. The darkness and the whispering, that's when it all begins. And it all starts up and you see the jungle trying to get in. I just like the fact that it actually explains why the jungle's doing that there. The fact he was doing an experiment that went horribly wrong. That's pretty cool. And it turns out Susan was right to be frightened by the whispering when she first got there. Somehow she just instinctively knew something was wrong. Or maybe it's the fact she just always assumes something's wrong. I don't know, it's Susan. But she was right to be afraid there, it turns out. So I really enjoyed that, and then seeing them. I like the fact that when they did find the key, when they realized where it was hidden, they made sure they teleported at the exact same time. I like that. That's smart. And then I like the way the series handles the teleporting effect. It's not fancy. It's just a simple little quick edit. Or it does it when they're off camera talking to somebody else. They turn around, they're gone. It's really clever how they do the teleporting effect. I actually like that. Considering the low budget of the show, it pulls it off well. It's perfectly believable for something from the 60s. I enjoy that. And I like how fast it is when he shows it from Ian and Barbara's point of view of next thing you know, they're in snow. That's pretty cool. I enjoy that. I'm liking the Keys of Marinus because each episode feels like its own adventure. It feels like I'm watching several episodes with a seasonal arc. Much like the Key to Time. I've actually heard the Keys of Marinus compared to the Key to Time before. And I see why. The Key to Time is like that. Several different episodes with a seasonal arc, linking them together. And this has felt like that so far. Now that I'm 3 episodes in, all 3 episodes feel very different. They each feel like they're their own unique episode. The Sea of Death, and then the Velvet Web, and then the Screaming Jungle. They each felt like their own little mini adventure, which I'm very much enjoying, with a seasonal or an episodic arc that's just connecting all of them together. And that's actually pretty cool. In the next episode, which I think it's, what's it say? I've still got the screen up. The Snows of Terror. Looks like it's going to be completely different from the other 3. So I really like that. Each episode's kind of its own thing. It's really making reviewing the different parts interesting, because with stories I've never seen before, I do tend to review, each part of a story. And usually, I'm just reviewing one part of a whole, whereas reviewing these, I feel like I'm reviewing little mini episodes with a beginning and an end. Part 1 felt like an episode, part 2 felt like an episode, part 3 felt like an episode. Part 4 looks like it's going to be totally different. And I love some of the names here. The Sea of Death, the Velvet Glove, the Screaming Jungle, the Snows of Terror. They got some interesting names for these episodes. I like that. So I am very much enjoying this. Like I said, and all 3 episodes have been completely different. Completely different. A sea of acid in one, with divers running around trying to kill people. The second one was something that challenged perception, when some people see things looking one way, but the reality is actually darker, with these little slug brains controlling everything. And in this one, the jungle trying to break in and kill people. That's interesting. I'm very much enjoying this. I can see why this story seems to be held in really high regard by the fandom, rightfully so. From what I've seen so far, every episode I watch, I get more engaged with the Keys of Marinus. I'm very glad it's a surviving story. I'm very much enjoying it so far. So, episode 3, or part 3 of the Keys of Marinus, The Screaming Jungle. Have you seen it? What do you think of it? Comment down below and let me know. Other things to do, click the like button and the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you never miss out on another video. I also have a Patreon. If you would like to support me that way, there's a link to that in the description below. Anyone who joins at any tier level gets a free video request for something you'd like me to talk about. I want to give a shout out to 2 of my top tier patrons, the 5th Doctor and Stephen Crane. I appreciate their continued support. I also have my P.O. box down there if there's anything you would like to send me, Doctor Who or otherwise. And a link to my Amazon wish list is down there as well. I update that regularly. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.